Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. According to Friday, July 18th's recap of The Bold and the Beautiful BNB, Liam Spencer, Scott Clifton, rejoiced over his brain skin showing no tumors, while John Finnegan Tanner Nolan appeared to be experiencing an unsettling sensation as Liam Spencer slowly regained consciousness in his hospital bed amid sterile walls and the sound of silent, beeping devices. Friday, July 18th, started out with cautious optimism. Bill Spencer sat next to him, his typically piercing gaze softening with relief akin to that of a father. Liam's brain scan results were confirmed by the specialists just hours ago. No tumor, not a mass. The unpredictable conduct, mood swings, and near-fatal collapse that had driven his life and everyone else's into a tailspin had no dark cloud to explain them. Bill squeezed Liam's hand and whispered, "We did it, son. You'll be all right." However, what ought to have been a moment of victory was marred by subdued confusion, because Finnegan was not grinning as he stood outside the room just past the glass. He didn't feel relieved. Unlike Hope and Steffi, he wasn't clapping or blotting away tears. The weight of a revelation he wasn't prepared to share aloud left him paralyzed and his heart thumping. Still, the Forrester mansion was alive with hopeful conversation by midday. The joyful news that Liam had no tumor had brought Ridge, Brooke, Steffi, and Hope together. They assumed that whatever storm had swept over him had only been a fear. With a tear in her eye, Hope remarked, "It's a miracle. We thought he might not wake up ever again." Steffi nodded while holding Kelly's drawing, which Liam had kept by his bedside. She said, "I can't stop thinking about how close we came to losing him." However, after remaining silent for the majority of the morning, Finn raised his head from his tablet, his brows wrinkled in contemplation. "That's exactly it," he said in a calm, low voice. "He never had a tumor in the first place, so we didn't nearly lose him to one." The room went cold. Ridge's mouth clenched. Brooke's blinking was quick. "What are you talking about?" Hope murmured. However, Steffi narrowed her eyes and moved closer after reading her husband's tone out of habit. "What are you saying, Finn?" At that point, everything started to fall apart. The scam that we saw and that Grace gave us wasn't Liam's. It was never. His voice wavered a little, not out of fear, but out of barely controlled rage. I sensed that something wasn't quite right. There were irregularities in the scans. Information. The format of the date was incorrect. Then I compared it to Liam's previous MRIs. Inconsistencies were present. The scan's age, location, markers, and tissue depth were all incorrect. I went over to the imaging technician. They verified that the original photograph originated from a completely different patient file. And Grace, she must have known. Bill commanded, "Wait, wait, wait," as he advanced like a lion about to slay. "Are you implying that we were misled? That my son was misdiagnosed with a brain tumor by Grace Buckingham?" "Dr. Grace Buckingham?" Finn didn't recoil. "Indeed. The worst part is that she did it on purpose." The room exploded. "Are you absolutely sure?" Ridge yelled as Brooke clutched her phone, trembling, trying to understand what this meant. Hope fell to the couch. Visions of Liam writhing in fear and weakness, his voice quivering as he pleaded with them to keep trying. "What?" she muttered. "Why would someone harm him in that way?" After a moment of hesitation, Finn stated, "It wasn't just about Liam. Grace was collaborating with someone who stood to benefit greatly from keeping Liam in a hospital bed, defenseless and quiet. Bill's thoughts were racing. One name blasted out of his gut. Reese Buckingham, Hope's kid, was taken years ago and sold to Steffi by the disgraced doctor and Grace's ex-husband. Is he truly coming back once more, operating in the shadows like a puppeteer pulling threads? Via Grace. Bill's blood froze.
With a
thunderous voice, he screamed, "Where is
she?"
Where on earth is Grace? Grace, meantime, was discreetly packing her belongings at the hospital. Her hands moved frantically and swiftly as she erased data from the clinic's shared computer and stuffed documents into her leather bag. She had anticipated this
time.
Finn was too intelligent. Since she had come, he had been observing her, and she realized the time was running out the instant he requested a second opinion. She was surprised as Bill Spencer bounded down the corridor like a rocket headed straight for its target. He snarled, "Don't move," and moved ahead of her as she got to the elevator. "You won't get anywhere." Grace's smile
Was forced and tight.
"I'm happy you're here, Bill. I only came to look for you."
"Stop the nonsense," he yelled. "You misled me."
"You misled my son. For what purpose? Did you put him through hell? When he discovered that he had never had a tumor, what did you anticipate happening?" Just behind him, Finn showed up with a folder of proof. "Grace, we are aware of everything. The pictures, the exchange of patient files, your communication with Ree." Her gaze wavered.
"And Bill saw it then."
"The fear, the
guilt."
"How much did you get paid by him?" Bill spit out. "Or was this a case of retaliation? Is it your intention to exclude Liam in order to make room for someone else to move in?"
Finn spoke in a
somber tone. "I believe Ray's recognized a chance. Liam was already emotionally broken and weak. He could be taken off the chessboard by convincing him and us that he had a tumor that was potentially fatal, and you assisted him." A furious Bill said, "You gave my son the impression that he was dying."
They
called security. Grace attempted to leave, but two hospital security officers stopped her. Bill declared, "I want her charged. Deception, malpractice, and medicine. Attempting to commit murder if necessary." Finn gave Grace one last glance. "You violated your pledge, and you violated my confidence. That white coat isn't yours to wear." Her sobbing reverberated along the sterile hallway as she was led away. Steffi was trembling back at the mansion. She said to Hope, "I don't understand how anyone could be this cruel." Liam believed he was going to
die.
Like he was drafting his last will and testament. "He urged me to look after the girls." With tears in her eyes, Hope nodded. He was getting ready to bid everyone farewell. In a whisper, Steffi said, "But it was all fake. Everything." Bill went back to Liam's hospital room that evening. At this point, he did not want to burden his kid. Liam's eyes were glazed with uncertainty. His voice was scratchy, and he was still recuperating from the anesthesia. He rasped,
"Hey,
Dad, is everything all right?"
Bill
forced a smile. "We will speak shortly, but I just want you to sleep for now. Son, you are loved." After giving Liam a forehead kiss, he left the room and went directly to the police investigator who was waiting outside. He declared, "I'm pressing charges. It's true what Finn
told you.
I want Ree and Grace to answer." Everyone was in shock, including the Spencers, Logans, and Forrester family. Donna was appalled. Katie was ill.
When
Rich told him, even Eric was taken aback. He remarked sourly, "We welcomed her into her home. She was trusted with our family. Hope, however, took it the hardest. Unaware of the chaos that had been going on around him, she sat by herself in Liam's hospital room while he slept, watching him breathe calmly.
She
said, "You have no idea what they did to you. However you will, and when you find out, I'll be right here." LAPD had issued warrants for Grace and Ree by Monday. Grace's medical license was suspended, and she was already in detention, but Ree was no longer there. Finn thought he might be abroad doing business under a different name like he had done previously. However, he would not remain hidden for long this time. Rich was informed by Bill that he made this personal, and his first error was
that.
For once, Steffi and Hope stood side by side at Liam's bedside, clutching his hands. Something had changed in Liam's eyes when he opened them. There was a fire and a clarity that had not previously there. He said, "I feel like I just woke up from a nightmare." Finn gave a slow nod.
You
have. Additionally, we will ensure that the individuals who harmed you or anybody else never do it again. However, rumors of deeper levels of the plot started to surface even as justice was served and Grace's arrest garnered media attention. It wasn't just Ree who was working. Hints of financial transactions involving offshore accounts, encrypted messaging, and shell businesses were
found.
Liam wasn't the only one involved. There was more to this.
No.
More lies, Bill vowed to his son as he continued his investigation, with Justin Barber returning to his side as legal counsel. No more games. We set everything on fire this time. On Monday morning, the usual buzz of fashion, discussions, and fabric selections was overpowered by whispering in the hallways, creating an eerie atmosphere. At Forrester Creations,
doctor arrested
for falsifying medical records in Spencer family scandal was a headline that everyone had seen. The Post included a fuzzy picture of Grace. Buckingham's eyes filled with embarrassment as she was escorted in handcuffs. The people closest to Liam, his family, were already beginning to piece everything together, even though the media was still unaware of the entire scope of what had transpired, and it became more and more obvious that this was more than a one-time swindle. As more parts of the picture fit together, this was a premeditated move, intentional, and perhaps just the start. Finn kept thinking about the lie and how easily Grace had given it to them. With such seasoned assurance, she had given them the CT scan and persuaded everyone that Liam had a brain tumor that was aggressive yet treatable using medical terminology. As if she were truly worried, she had even talked about treatment strategies and odds.
He
shuddered at the thought. Even more unsettling, he discovered internal memos on her hospital account that had discussions about buying time and removing threats with unnamed sources. He was now positive it wasn't simply Ree, because she had been in contact with someone. Bill, meantime, was pacing his Spencer Publications office like a lion in a cage. He had been on the phone with detectives for the whole of the night, doing everything he could to prevent Grace from being released on bail. He was looking for answers. He desired Ree. He was more concerned with making things right for Liam than anything else. A woman posing as a savior had subjected his son to psychological torture. With his hands clenched, Bill whispered. He believed he was dying.
He was organizing
his burial. He struck the desk. "How did you recover from that?" "Just as expected." Wyatt came in with a file. "You must see this, Dad." Last Monday, one of our sources in Zurich reported a transaction involving an offshore account using the same identity that Reese used following the baby switch controversy. The account was recently reactivated.
Can you guess?
Who got it? Bill squinted his eyes. Grace Wyatt gave a somber nod.
Furthermore, he made advantage of a
Cryptocurrency channel that has only ever been used once. Back in Monaco when Reese struck that bribe arrangement with that illicit adoption broker again.
Dad.
He's up to something major. Furthermore, I believe Liam was really a smokeyok. Screen. Bill said, get Justin and give Ridge a call. He must understand that this is not merely a medical hoax. Ridge received the call while he was in his Forrester office. As soon as Bill had completed his explanation, Ridge got up and slammed his hand down on the desk. Are you implying that Liam wasn't the final goal? Was he baked? Exactly, Bill replied.
He stumbled upon something.
Else, so I believe Reyes and Grace tried to keep him sedated and out of the way, something they wished to keep hidden. They were probably worried that he saw too much. Rich thought about how Liam had shown at Forrester weeks prior, appearing suspicious and talking endlessly about something wrong at the clinic and how Grace was concealing things. It had all been written off as stress over the alleged malignancy.
Now,
Though, Liam appeared to have been the only one to speak the truth.
in the
Meantime, Liam's thoughts were at last becoming obvious. He was getting stronger, eating solid foods again, and starting to ask questions a few days after he woke up from the sedative.
he
Asked Finn, what do you mean that I don't have a tumor? With astonishment. How is that even possible?
sitting
Next to him, Finn's expression was a mix of relief and remorse due of Grace's deception. The scans weren't real.
your
Symptoms, which included headaches, lightheadedness, and fainting, were either psychosomatic or drug-induced medications. Liam narrowed his brows and
echoed.
You mean I was drugged?
Finn paused.
There is proof that a sedative that was not listed in your file was administered to you. You might not have realized someone had slipped it to you, perhaps sooner or in the hospital. You blacked out at the Cliff home for that reason. Liam remained quiet for a while. He then added, I knew something was wrong, while maintaining a gloomy expression, and nobody took me seriously. A few seconds later, Hope arrived just as Liam's voice broke.
He
Muttered, they made me think I was
crazy.
as if I were dreaming. However, I wasn't. Hope took his hand and sat next
To him.
I apologize so much, Liam.
We
Had faith in her. All of us did.
now. What?
Liam inquired. We discover the reason, said Finn. And before they harm anyone else, we stop them. Grace's hands were shaking as she sat in a dark holding cell at the jailhouse. She was aware of how deep she was. The message she received from an anonymous phone just before her detention, however, frightened her even more. If you talk, you're finished. Your daughter is also doing well. Like a truck, the implication struck Zoe. Even though Reese was no longer there, his reach continued to linger like a mist of
Poison.
At that moment, Grace understood that her silence had been motivated by